The country is bankrupt. Its banks busted. Its institutions derided. But an Irish election is still about faces. Many of them the same old faces.
I think everybody knows that this election is not going to fundamentally change a whole lot. It does.
In cold church halls at makeshift hustings, you can hear the anger.
Success in Ireland is to get to the point where the laws don't apply to you.
We need to see people arrested for what's happened. We need to see...
As they go to the polls, the scale of the economic crisis has prompted Irish people to ask big questions about what they want this country to be. The bullet holes that scarred this country at formation are still there, but in the boom years, the old narratives of Catholicism and nationalism were replaced with the narrative of money. But now the money's gone.
The great question is, would the British have managed the country better, frankly speaking?
Neil Jordan's films have explored the Irish psyche from the Civil War to the Troubles in the North. In his 1996 film, Michael Collins, he produced a haunting portrait of a people torn between the ideal and the possible.
If they shut me up, who'll take my place?
My personal reaction is one of shame. Yeah, you know, a shock, actually.
Why shame?
Shame. It's, well, because you feel that the entire culture and the entire country and its institutions have been mismanaged, you know.
What's going to happen to the Irish psyche as a result of this trauma?
Well, what seems to be happening is that the country is about to vote in another deeply conservative government whose policies are almost similar to the government that they're throwing out, whose level of corruption will, I'm sure, be much, much less, and whose kind of level of public probity will be better, but the policies will probably be just exactly the same, you know.
This is the tower where Joyce's Ulysses begins, but how will the Irish writers of the present react to this?
I think it's time for Irish writers to get the boot out, you know, stick it in firmly. You know.
And who will they stick it into?
They'll probably lash out blindly, like the country at large should be doing, you know. I think the final language to deal with what's going on at present, one will have to be like Bertolt Brecht was in the 30s in Berlin or something, you know. I think you'll have to be writing works that are actually almost come hot off the page onto the theatre or into the cinema or into the bookstands, stuff like that, you know.
Now, there are new forces at work. All over Dublin, surrealist posters have appeared amid the images of the old politicians.
We're just trying to nudge this debate to creatively look at some of the situations we found ourselves in.
Would you be able to explain to me what that's about?
I think I'll let you and your viewers make their own mind up.
What do you think it's about?
I think that's how some people feel at some points in their lives. Maybe especially now.
How you doing? Can I give you a flyer? I'm an independent here.
Plus, there's a swathe of independent candidates, some distinctly not of the old traditions.
Can I give you a flyer? I'm an independent. To see the whole country collapse has actually been one of the most liberating and empowering experiences ever. Because you realise that nothing is permanent, that everything can actually change. And when you realise that everything can change, you realise that you can have a role in changing things as well. And I don't mean that in any kind of Obama-esque, you know,